The council chamber stretched wide like an ancient cathedral, its walls carved from crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Ambassador Yuna stood at the center podium, her hand steady despite the weight of what was about to happen. Around her, in ascending rings of seats, sat the representatives of 47 alien species. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few existed as clouds of gas contained in transparent spheres. They all watched her with various expressions that she had learned to read over 3 years of diplomatic service. The Vrel representative rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with dark red scales that caught the light like polished armor. His name was something humans could not pronounce, so everyone called him the Vrel Commander. He looked down at Yuna with eyes that held no warmth. "The Vrel Empire has been patient with your species," he said, his voice rumbling through the chamber like thunder. "For 30 years we have allowed Earth to exist in our galaxy. We have tolerated your expansion, your colonies, your naive attempts at diplomacy. But patience has limits." Yuna felt her heart beat faster, but her face remained calm. She had expected this. Earth's intelligence division had warned her 2 weeks ago that the Vrel were planning something. "The Vrel Empire demands tribute," the commander continued. "You will surrender your 3 colony worlds. You will transfer control of your mining operations in the Kepler sector. You will reduce your fleet to 20 ships for defensive purposes only. These are not requests. These are requirements for your continued existence." The chamber fell silent. Yuna could feel the eyes of every species upon her. Some looked sympathetic, others indifferent, and a few seemed pleased. The Galactic Council operated on a simple principle: might made right. The Vrel Empire controlled 3 entire sectors of space. They had been a major power for over 3,000 years. Earth had been in space for less than 2 centuries. "And if we refuse?" Yuna asked quietly. The Vrel commander showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "Then we will remove you. Your species knows nothing of real war. You are soft mammals who got lucky with faster-than-light travel. The Vrel fleet numbers in the thousands. Your entire civilization would be erased in a matter of weeks." He paused, letting the threat sink in. "You have 7 days to comply." Yuna looked around the chamber. "Does the council have nothing to say about this?" The Torvan ambassador, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish, spoke in a melodic voice. "The council does not interfere in territorial disputes. The Vrel have a historical claim to that region of space. Earth's colonies are technically in violation of ancient boundaries. Ancient boundaries that were never shared with us when we joined the council," Yuna said. "Ignorance of the law is not an excuse," said another representative, a bird-like creature with golden feathers. Yuna understood what was really happening. The council was afraid of the Vrel. No one wanted to oppose them. It was easier to sacrifice one small, weak species than risk angering a major power. She had seen this pattern in Earth's own history, repeated over and over. The strong took what they wanted and everyone else looked away. "I see," Yuna said. She bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that she did not feel. "I will deliver your message to my government." As she walked out of the chamber, the Vrel commander called after her. 7 days, human. Do not make the mistake of resistance. Your species is too young to understand the cost of defying the Vrel." Captain Do-hyun watched the distant stars from the bridge of the Indomitable. His ship was a heavy cruiser, one of Earth's newest vessels equipped with fusion drives and railguns that could punch holes through asteroids. It was impressive by human standards. By galactic standards, it was barely adequate. "Captain, we're picking up massive energy signatures at the border," said Lieutenant Yoonji from her tactical station. She was young, only 26, but she had sharp instincts. "It looks like a fleet assembly." Do-hyun moved to her station and studied the readings. His stomach tightened. "How many ships?" "Over 300, sir. All Vrel design. Heavy cruisers, battleships, and at least 20 carriers." Do-hyun had served in Earth's Navy for 15 years. He had fought in the colony wars against pirates and raiders. He had seen combat, but he had never seen anything like this. 300 warships was more than Earth's entire fleet combined. "Send the data to Fleet Command," he ordered. "And get me Admiral Jinwoo." The Admiral's face appeared on the screen minutes later. He was an older man in his 60s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. "I know about the fleet, Captain. We've been tracking it for the past 6 hours. Are they really going to do it, sir? Attack Earth?" "Ambassador Yuna is on her way back from the council meeting. The Vrel gave us an ultimatum. 7 days to surrender our colonies or they will invade." The Admiral's expression was grim. "The council won't help us. We're on our own. Do-Yoon felt cold. What are our orders? Return to Earth orbit. We're recalling every ship. The government is meeting now to decide our response. The Admiral leaned forward. Tell your crew to rest while they can. The next few days are going to determine whether humanity has a future in this galaxy. The transmission ended. Do-Yoon stood in silence for a moment, looking at the tactical display showing the Vrel fleet. 300 ships. The galaxy had decided that Earth was too weak to matter, too small to defend, too insignificant to save. On Earth, in the headquarters of the United Earth Government, Ambassador Yuna stood before the Emergency Council. Seated around the table were the leaders of every major nation, unified under one banner for the first time in human history. Admiral Jinwoo was there along with Dr. Nari, the head of military research. They gave us 7 days, Yuna said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The Vrel expect us to surrender. The Council expects us to submit. The entire galaxy believes we have no choice. The president of United Earth, a woman named Jisoo, spoke. What do you recommend, Ambassador? The Vrel see us as primitives. They think we're afraid of war because we've been peaceful since joining the galactic community. They think our technology is inferior, our tactics predictable, our resolve weak. Yuna's eyes were hard. I recommend we show them how wrong they are. Admiral Jinwoo nodded. We've been preparing for this scenario since the day we met our first alien species. We learned from our own history. Humanity has fought wars for 10,000 years. We know what it takes to survive. Dr. Nari stood and activated a holographic display. The galaxy has rules about warfare. They don't use cyber attacks because it's considered dishonorable. They don't use autonomous weapons because it's seen as cowardly. They fight battles like chess games, following ancient protocols. She smiled coldly. We're not going to play by their rules. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson. They were about to discover why you never mess with humans. Admiral Jinwoo stood at the window of the command center, watching ships move in orbit around Earth like fireflies in the dark. Every vessel in the human fleet was being recalled, modified and prepared for what was coming. Behind him, the Emergency Council continued their heated discussions. We should negotiate, said one of the council members, a diplomat named Minho. Perhaps we can offer them something else. Trade agreements, technology sharing, anything but war. They don't want negotiation, Yuna replied, her voice tired but firm. The Vrel see us as insects. You don't negotiate with insects. You step on them. Dr. Nari pulled up holographic displays showing various weapon systems. The galaxy thinks they know everything about warfare because they've been doing it for thousands of years. But they've forgotten something important. They've made war into a ritual, a dance with rules and honor. Humans never forgot that war is about survival, not honor. Colonel Tae-Yang, head of Special Operations, stepped forward. He was a lean man with scars on his hands and a reputation for getting impossible missions done. I've reviewed the Vrel military doctrine. It's predictable. They rely on superior numbers and firepower. They engage in direct combat, fleet against fleet. They've never faced an enemy that fights dirty. Define dirty, President Jisoo said. Tae-Yang smiled, but there was no humor in it. Cyber warfare, psychological operations, asymmetric tactics, guerrilla strategies. Everything Earth's military has been studying for the past 3 decades. He brought up images of historical battles from Earth. When we joined the galactic community, everyone told us to forget our violent past. We smiled and nodded. But we never stopped learning from it. Dr. Nari continued the briefing. The Vrel use centralized command systems. All their ships connect to command vessels. It makes their fleets coordinated and efficient. It also makes them vulnerable to the right kind of attack. She showed schematics of Vrel technology. They've never encrypted their communications because no species in the galaxy has ever tried to hack them. It would be dishonorable. But we're not honorable, Admiral Jinwoo said quietly. We're survivors. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what was being proposed. Earth wasn't going to fight a traditional battle. They were going to fight like humans had always fought when facing stronger enemies. With every trick, every deception, every ruthless tactic they could imagine. On the Vrel flagship, the commander reviewed reports of the human fleet gathering near Earth. His officers stood at attention, waiting for orders. How many ships do the humans have? He asked. 237 vessels, Commander. Mostly cruisers and frigates. Nothing that poses a significant threat to our battle formations. The commander looked at the tactical display with satisfaction. They're gathering their entire fleet to defend their homeworld. Predictable. Pathetic. He turned to his officers. We will jump into their system in 6 days. The Council has granted us permission to conduct a punitive expedition. By this time next week, Earth will be smoking ruins and the remaining humans will beg to accept our original terms. His officers saluted. None of them questioned the plan. The Vrel had crushed dozens of civilizations. Humans would be no different. Captain Do-hyun walked through the hangar bay of the Indomitable, checking on the modifications being made to his ship. Technicians worked around the clock, installing new systems that had arrived from Earth's secret research stations. His tactical officer, Yoonji, walked beside him. "What are these, sir?" she asked, pointing at small cylindrical devices being loaded into the ship's cargo bay by the hundreds. "Autonomous drones," Do-hyun replied. "Each one has basic AI, sensors, and a communication relay. Dr. Nari's team has been developing them for years." "What do they do?" "They watch, they listen, and they learn. The Vrel won't see them as threats because they're not weapons, but they'll give us something more valuable than weapons: information." Yoonji frowned. "The Vrel have 300 ships and we're responding with surveillance drones?" Do-hyun smiled. "Do you know how Earth armies defeated larger forces throughout history? They didn't match strength with strength. They used intelligence, misdirection, and timing. We're not going to fight the Vrel on their terms. We're going to fight them on ours." In a secret facility beneath the lunar surface, Hyunwoo and his team of cyber warfare specialists prepared for their mission. Hyunwoo was 32 years old, a genius in computer systems who had spent the last decade studying alien technology. Around him, screens displayed Vrel communication protocols, ship systems, and network architectures. "The beauty of the Vrel systems is their simplicity," he explained to his team. "They've been using the same basic technology for centuries because it works. They never updated their security because they never needed to. No one in the galaxy has tried to hack military systems before. Until now," said one of his team members, a young woman named Sora. "Until now." Hyunwoo agreed. "We're going to introduce them to 21st century Earth cyber warfare. By the time we're done, they won't know what's real and what's not." On a colony world called New Seoul, Governor Hana addressed her citizens. The Vrel had demanded surrender of all 3 human colonies. New Seoul was the largest, home to 2 million people. Many of them wanted to evacuate. Hana stood firm. "I will not abandon our home," she told the crowd gathered in the main plaza. "Our parents built this colony with their own hands. We turned a barren rock into a living world. If the Vrel want it, they'll have to take it from us." "But they have hundreds of ships," someone shouted from the crowd. "We have no military here. We'll be slaughtered. Admiral Jinwoo has assured me that Earth will defend us," Hana replied. "But more than that, we're going to defend ourselves. Every mining laser, every construction vehicle, every piece of equipment we have can be weaponized. We're not soldiers, but we're humans. And humans don't surrender." The crowd erupted in cheers. Not everyone agreed, and thousands chose to evacuate to Earth, but tens of thousands stayed. They began fortifying the colony, preparing weapons and organizing militias. The Vrel would learn that conquering a human colony was different from conquering anyone else. Back on Earth, Admiral Jinwoo sent a message to the Vrel commander. It was broadcast on all diplomatic channels, ensuring that every species in the galaxy could hear it. To the Vrel Empire, "You have given us an ultimatum. We reject it. Your fleet sits at our border waiting to invade. We are ready. But before you cross into human space, understand this. Earth has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear weapons. We have 10,000 years of history written in blood and fire. We joined the galactic community seeking peace, but we never forgot how to wage war. Leave now and there will be no conflict. Cross our border, and you will discover why humanity's greatest gift is not our technology or our art. It is our refusal to surrender, no matter the odds. This is your only warning," the message ended. Across the galaxy, species listened and wondered if the humans were brave or simply insane. The Vrel commander listened and laughed. In 6 days, he would show these primitive mammals what real power looked like. But in secret facilities, on hidden ships, and in the hearts of every human, preparation continued. The galaxy was about to receive an education in human warfare, and class was about to begin. The Vrel fleet crossed into human space exactly when they said they would. 300 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in a perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapon systems that had destroyed civilizations. The commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. "Scan for human vessels," he ordered. "We detect 12 ships, Commander. They appear to be maintaining position near the fourth planet of this system." 12 ships? The commander's voice held amusement. They sent 12 ships against 300? These humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Captain Do-hyun watched the Vrel fleet from the bridge of the Indomitable. His crew was silent, professional, focused. Everyone knew the odds. 11 other human ships floated in formation with them, including 2 heavy cruisers and 9 frigates. Against 300 Vrel warships, it was suicide. "Deploy the drones," Do-hyun ordered calmly. From the cargo bays of all 12 human ships, thousands of small cylindrical objects launched into space. They spread out in all directions, moving silently through the void. The Vrel sensors detected them immediately. "Commander, the humans are deploying some kind of probe network. Thousands of small objects, no weapon signatures." The commander studied the readings. "Surveillance drones. They want to watch their own destruction. How pathetic. Ignore them and proceed with the attack." The Vrel fleet began moving forward in their standard battle formation. It was a wall of ships, layered with overlapping fields of fire. Against any conventional enemy, it was unstoppable. The human ships remained still, making no move to retreat or attack. "They're not even trying to run," one of the Vrel officers said. "Shall we destroy them now?" "Not yet," the commander said. "Let them feel fear first. Let them understand the mistake they made in defying the Vrel Empire." But on the lunar base, Hyunwoo watched his screens with a smile. The drones had done their job perfectly. They had positioned themselves throughout the Vrel fleet, invisible among the thousands of pieces of space debris. And now they were transmitting everything: communication frequencies, encryption keys, system protocols. Information flowed into Hyunwoo's computers like water. "We're in," he said to his team. "The Vrel network is completely open. It's like they never imagined someone would try this." "What are your orders?" Sora asked. Hyunwoo's fingers moved across his keyboard. "Time to introduce them to chaos." The first Vrel ship to experience the attack was a battlecruiser on the left flank. Its weapon system suddenly activated without orders, firing on the ship next to it. The target's shields absorbed the blast, but alarm screamed across the fleet. "Who ordered that ship to fire?" the commander demanded. "No one, sir. The captain reports his weapons activated on their own." "Impossible. Run diagnostics." Before diagnostics could begin, 6 more ships opened fire randomly across the fleet. Shields flared as friendly fire struck unprepared vessels. The perfect formation began to break apart as captains tried to avoid being hit by their own ships. "It's a systems malfunction," an officer reported. Multiple ships reporting loss of control over weapons and navigation. The commander's eyes widened. "They're inside our network. The humans are hacking us." "Hacking? Sir, that's not possible. No species has that capability. These humans do." The commander's voice was cold with fury. "Shut down all network connections between ships. Operate independently." But shutting down took time. And Hyunwoo's team was just getting started. False sensor readings flooded Vrel displays. Ships saw enemies that didn't exist. Navigation systems provided wrong coordinates. Communication channels filled with contradictory orders. The organized war fleet became a confused mob, ships colliding with each other as they tried to establish what was real. Captain Do-hyun watched the chaos unfold. "Now," he said quietly. The 12 human ships split into 4 groups and accelerated. But they didn't move toward the Vrel fleet. They moved around it, launching more drones, setting up relay stations, avoiding engagement. The Vrel tried to target them, but their targeting systems kept showing ghost images or losing lock. "They're not fighting," Lieutenant Yoonji said. "We're just spreading more surveillance." "Information is a weapon," Do-hyun replied. "The Vrel brought 300 ships. We brought something they've never faced before. Warfare they don't understand." Colonel Taeyang and his special operations teams were already on their way. 20 small stealth ships, each carrying a dozen operators, had launched from hidden positions. They moved through the confusion of the Vrel fleet, heading for command vessels. Their mission wasn't to destroy these ships. It was to infiltrate them. Taeyang's team approached a Vrel carrier, one of the massive ships that coordinated entire sections of the fleet. Using magnetic clamps and careful maneuvering, they attached to the hull near a maintenance airlock. Cutting through took 15 minutes. The Vrel never noticed. Inside the carrier, Taeyang and his team moved like shadows, The Vrel were focused on the chaos outside, trying to understand what was happening to their systems. The humans planted small devices throughout the ship, transmitters that would feed false information into the Vrel command network, sensors that would track every communication, and virus programs that would activate on Hyunwoo's command. Package delivered, Taeyang whispered into his comm. Extracting now. Negative, Hyunwoo's voice replied. Stay inside. We're about to make things interesting. Taeyang smiled under his helmet. Copy that. The Vrel commander finally managed to restore some order to his fleet. Ships were operating independently now, immune to the human cyber attacks. He had lost 20 ships to collisions and friendly fire, and dozens more were damaged, but he still had overwhelming superiority. Locate those human ships and destroy them, he ordered. His fleet began to reorganize, hunting for the 12 human vessels. They found 3 of them near a large asteroid. The Vrel converged, weapons charging for the kill. Sir, those human ships are accelerating, an officer reported. They're on a collision course with our formation. They're attempting ramming attacks? Destroy them before they get close. The Vrel opened fire. Railguns, plasma cannons, and missile barrages filled space with deadly energy. 2 human ships were hit and exploded in brilliant flashes. The 3rd ship came apart under sustained fire. The Vrel crews cheered, but Captain Do-hyun, watching from 5 light seconds away, knew what was about to happen. The decoys worked perfectly, he said. Now for the real attack. Those weren't crewed ships. They were remote-controlled vessels, filled with every drone and relay system the humans could spare. The Vrel had wasted ammunition on empty hulls, and while they celebrated, 3 other human ships executed their actual plan. They accelerated to 10% light speed. At that velocity, even a small ship carried the kinetic energy of several nuclear weapons. The Vrel detected them too late. 3 human vessels struck 3 Vrel capital ships head-on. The explosions were visible from orbit around the nearby planet, brilliant white flashes that faded to leave nothing but expanding clouds of debris. The cheering on Vrel ships turned to horror. In seconds, they had lost 3 of their most powerful vessels. 50 more ships were damaged by the shockwaves and shrapnel. How did they survive that impact? An officer asked in shock. They didn't need to survive. The ships had been evacuated minutes before, their crews picked up by stealth shuttles. But the Vrel didn't know that. All they knew was that humans had just used suicide attacks, and if they were willing to die to win, what else would they do? The commander stared at the tactical display. His fleet was still larger, still more powerful. But for the first time in his military career, he felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. These humans didn't fight like any enemy he had faced before. They used weapons that weren't weapons, attacked without attacking, and sacrificed pieces without hesitation. Reform the fleet, he ordered, his voice lacking its earlier confidence, and send a message to the Empire. Tell them we need reinforcements. The request was transmitted immediately, but what the commander didn't know was that every message his fleet sent was being read by Hyunwoo's team. Every plan, every fear, every weakness was being recorded and analyzed. The humans weren't just fighting a battle. They were gathering intelligence for a war, and they were just getting started. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On every civilized world, in every council chamber and marketplace, beings discussed what had happened. The Vrel Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful military forces in known space, had lost 50 ships to a handful of human vessels. No one could quite believe it. Ambassador Minho of the Torvan species called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. His translucent form floated in the center of the chamber, his bioluminescent organs pulsing with agitation. The humans have introduced new forms of warfare, he said. Cyber attacks, false information, suicide strikes. These are not honorable tactics. The Council must condemn them. Honorable? Ambassador Yuna stood at the human podium, her eyes cold. When the Vrel threatened to exterminate my species, where was honor? When this council remained silent as they prepared to invade, where was honor? You taught us that the galaxy respects only strength. Now you complain that we're strong in ways you don't like? The bird-like representative from the Trivac spoke up. You're changing the rules of engagement. Warfare has protocols, traditions. Your methods threaten the stability of galactic military doctrine. Good, Yuna said simply. Your stability was built on weaker species submitting to stronger ones. Maybe it's time that changed. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species were horrified by human tactics. Others were quietly impressed. A few began to wonder if humanity might be useful allies. But everyone understood that something fundamental had shifted. The galaxy would never quite be the same. On his flagship, the Vrel commander received the response from his empire. It was not what he expected. The Vrel Imperial Council had authorized the deployment of the Grand Fleet, 2,000 warships including 50 dreadnoughts that had never been defeated in battle. They would arrive in 3 days. The humans would be crushed by overwhelming force. The commander felt relief. Reinforce defensive positions. We hold here until the Grand Fleet arrives. Then we will show these humans what happens when primitives challenge the Vrel. But in orbit around Earth, Admiral Jinwoo was reading the same intelligence. Hyunwoo's team had intercepted the Vrel message minutes after it was sent. 2,000 ships, Dr. Nari said quietly. That's more than 10 times our entire fleet. Then we make sure those 2,000 ships never reach Earth, Jinwoo replied. He pulled up star charts showing the space between Vrel territory and human space. They have to travel through 6 systems to get here. That gives us time. Time for what? President Jisoo asked. Dr. Nari smiled. To activate Project Exodus. For 30 years since humans first entered galactic space, they had been building. Not just ships and stations, but weapons platforms hidden throughout human territory. Asteroid bases with railguns that could fire projectiles at relativistic speeds. Dead moons hollowed out and filled with missile batteries. Automated defense networks that could operate without human crews. The galaxy's rules said such weapons were excessive, uncivilized, paranoid. Earth had built them anyway. The Vrel Grand Fleet will pass through the Arcturus system, Dr. Nari explained. We have 47 weapon platforms hidden in the asteroid belt there. They've been waiting dormant for 3 decades. Wake them up, Admiral Jinwoo ordered. Across 6 star systems, human military AI systems came online. They had been programmed by Earth's best strategic minds, loaded with historical data from 10,000 years of human warfare. They understood tactics that the galaxy had forgotten or never learned. Ambush, guerrilla warfare, attrition. They began moving into position, preparing killing fields that would make the Vrel's journey to Earth the longest nightmare they had ever experienced. Junho was a war correspondent, one of the few civilians allowed on military vessels during the conflict. He stood in the observation deck of a human destroyer, camera in hand, documenting everything. The galaxy needed to see this. They needed to understand what was happening. Why are you doing this? He asked Captain Do Yun, who had agreed to an interview. Recording everything, broadcasting it across the galaxy? Do Hyun looked out at the stars. Because if we survive this, the galaxy needs to know what it costs to threaten humanity. And if we don't survive, future species need to learn from our example. Never give up. Never surrender. Fight with everything you have, even if defeat seems certain. Do you think we'll survive? I think humans are very good at surviving, Do Yun said. It's what we do best. Junho's broadcasts were watched by billions across the galaxy. They saw human pilots preparing for missions they might not return from. They saw Governor Hana on New Seoul, organizing civilian militias. They saw Dr. Nari working around the clock on weapon systems. And they saw something that made many species uncomfortable. Humans who were not afraid of death, only of surrender. On Earth, a young woman named Jisoo became the symbol of human resilience without trying. She was a teacher from Seoul, nothing special, but when the evacuation orders came for major cities, she refused to leave. Instead, she organized her community to prepare shelters and aid stations. If the Vrel reach Earth, we'll need people to help the wounded and protect the survivors, she said in a video that went viral. Running is not our way. We stay, we fight, we survive. Thousands followed her example. Millions more sent messages of support. Jisoo didn't think of herself as a hero. She was just doing what humans had always done when faced with extinction, refusing to accept it. The Vrel Grand Fleet entered the Arcturus system 3 days later. It was a sight that would have terrified any species. 2,000 warships in perfect formation, engines burning bright enough to be visible from light years away. They were unstoppable. They were inevitable. Then the asteroids opened fire. The Vrel had no warning. One moment, they were traversing what their sensors showed as an empty system. The next 47 weapons platforms revealed themselves, firing railgun projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. At those velocities, even small masses carried devastating energy. The projectiles struck Vrel ships before their sensors could even detect the threat. 200 ships were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The Vrel fleet scattered, trying to identify their attackers. But the platforms were hidden among thousands of asteroids, using the rocks as shields. When Vrel ships approached to investigate, hidden missile batteries activated, launching swarms of warheads. The battle lasted 4 hours. The Vrel destroyed every human weapons platform, but the cost was staggering. 400 ships lost, 600 damaged, and they still had 5 more systems to cross before reaching Earth. Admiral Jinwoo watched the battle results with grim satisfaction. "How many platforms do we have in the next system?" 63, sir. Plus 3 automated destroyer squadrons. Activate them all. Make the Vrel pay for every light year. The Grand Fleet limped into the next system, already battered and wary. They found more platforms, more ambushes, more human tricks. The automated destroyers would approach as if to engage, then detonate themselves when Vrel ships got close. It was wasteful, horrifying, and effective. The Vrel were dying by the hundreds, and they had yet to face the actual human fleet. On the Galactic Council, debates raged. Some species called for intervention to stop the conflict. Others argued that both sides needed to be punished for violating warfare conventions. But Ambassador Yuna stood firm. "You want this to stop? Tell the Vrel to withdraw. We never wanted this war. We offered peace. They chose violence. Now they're learning that humans are very, very good at violence." The Vrel commander of the Grand Fleet sent a message to Earth. It was no longer a demand. It was a request. "We wish to negotiate terms of peace. The Vrel Empire will withdraw our territorial claims. We will acknowledge human sovereignty. We ask only that you cease your attacks and allow us to leave in peace." Admiral Jinwoo read the message 3 times. Then he replied, "You came to exterminate us. You brought 2,000 ships to destroy our colonies and our homeworld. You expected us to beg for mercy. Now you ask us for mercy?" He paused. "Permission denied. You will continue to Earth, and when you arrive you will face our full fleet. If you survive that, we will discuss terms. But you will not leave human space without learning the full cost of threatening humanity." The Vrel fleet continued forward. They had no choice. Behind them, human platforms had moved to block their retreat. Ahead lay Earth and the waiting human defense force. They were trapped in a tunnel of human making, bleeding ships with every system they crossed, and Earth prepared for the final battle. The Vrel Grand Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They had started with 2,000 ships. Now they had 963. Every system they crossed had cost them dearly. The fleet was battered, demoralized, and running low on ammunition, but they were still a formidable force. The human fleet waited for them in orbit around Mars. 237 ships, arranged in a defensive formation that made no tactical sense to the Vrel. The human vessels were scattered with large gaps between groups. It looked disorganized, almost amateur. The Vrel commander knew better. Nothing the humans did was amateur. Every strange tactic, every unconventional strategy had proven deadly. He approached cautiously, scanning for hidden platforms, automated weapons, or cyber attack vectors. "Sir, we're detecting no hidden threats, just their fleet." The commander didn't believe it. "Deploy all point defense systems. Maintain maximum shield strength, and prepare for anything." Admiral Jinwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the Vrel approach. His crew was silent, every officer at their station, every weapon ready. He had spent 3 days positioning his fleet exactly where he needed them. Now came the test. "All ships, this is Admiral Jinwoo. Today we defend Earth. Our ancestors survived every disaster this universe could throw at them. Ice ages, asteroids, plagues, wars. They survived because they refused to give up. Today we carry that legacy. Today we show the galaxy what it means to be human." Across the human fleet, crews prepared for battle. Many would not survive the next few hours. They all knew it. They all stayed anyway. The battle began not with the Vrel firing first, but with the humans. Captain Do-hyun's group launched what appeared to be a missile barrage. The Vrel point defense systems activated, shooting down hundreds of incoming projectiles. They were easy targets, almost too easy. "They're desperate," a Vrel officer said. "Those missiles had no chance of penetrating our defenses." But those weren't missiles. They were drones, and when they were destroyed, they released electromagnetic chaff that blinded Vrel sensors for precious seconds. In that moment of confusion, the real attack began. Human ships accelerated from their scattered positions, moving at angles the Vrel didn't expect. They didn't form up for a proper fleet engagement. Instead, they broke into small groups, each targeting a specific Vrel vessel. It was chaos, madness, completely against standard military doctrine. It was also devastatingly effective. Lieutenant Yunji coordinated the attack from her tactical station. Target the command ship in Sector 3. All railguns fire on my mark. 5 human ships concentrated their fire on a single Vrel battleship. The Vrel shields held, but the sustained barrage forced that ship to pull back from the formation. The moment it was isolated, human frigates moved in, launching boarding pods. "They're boarding us," the Vrel captain screamed. "How are they boarding in the middle of a fleet battle?" Colonel Ta Yang and his teams smashed through the Vrel hull, not to capture the ship but to destroy its reactor controls. 3 minutes later, they evacuated, and the Vrel battleship exploded from the inside. Across the battle space, similar tactics played out. The humans didn't try to win a traditional fleet engagement. They picked targets, swarmed them, destroyed them, and moved on. When Vrel ships tried to protect each other, human vessels would suddenly accelerate and ram them, sacrificing themselves to take out larger threats. But this time, the crews evacuated first. Stealth shuttles picked them up seconds before impact. To the Vrel, it looked like suicide attacks. The psychological impact was immense. How do you fight an enemy willing to die for every small victory? Hyunwoo watched the battle from Earth and saw his opportunity. The Vrel fleet was focused on the physical battle. Their cyber defenses were minimal. He launched a massive attack on their communication systems, not to take control this time, but to cut them off from each other. "Isolate them," he ordered his team. "Make every ship think they're alone." The Vrel fleet's coordination collapsed. Ships couldn't communicate, couldn't coordinate, couldn't call for help. Each vessel became an island in a sea of enemies. And the humans were expert shark hunters. The battle raged for 8 hours. The human fleet took devastating losses. 114 ships were destroyed. Thousands of crew members died fighting to protect Earth. But they took 300 Vrel ships with them and damaged hundreds more. As the battle reached its peak, Dr. Nari activated the final surprise. In the asteroid belt beyond Mars, massive railguns that had been hidden for decades powered up. They had been built using mining equipment and disguised as mineral processing facilities. Now they revealed their true purpose. Projectiles the size of city buses launched at velocities that made them relativistic weapons. They crossed the distance to the battle space in minutes and struck the Vrel formation like the hammer of an angry god. Capital ships split in half. Battle cruisers were reduced to expanding clouds of plasma. In 30 minutes of sustained bombardment, the Vrel lost 200 more ships. The Vrel commander stared at his tactical display in horror. He had brought the Grand Fleet, the pride of the Empire, to destroy a primitive species. Now his fleet was broken, scattered, dying. He had 600 ships left. The humans had 123, but those human ships were still fighting with the same intensity as when the battle began. "Sir, we must retreat," his tactical officer said. "We've lost too much. If we continue, the entire fleet will be destroyed." The commander wanted to refuse. The Vrel did not retreat. The Vrel did not admit defeat. But as he watched another of his battleships explode under human attack, he realized the truth. Pride had brought them here. Pride would kill them all. "Signal retreat," he said, the words tasting like ash. "All ships withdraw to the jump point." But Admiral Jinwoo had anticipated this. Human ships had already positioned themselves to block the retreat. The Vrel would have to fight their way out, and every minute they delayed, more human reinforcements arrived from the inner system. Colony defense ships, refitted civilian vessels, even construction platforms armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. The Vrel fought desperately to escape. They succeeded, but at a terrible cost. When the last Vrel ship jumped to faster than light, the Grand Fleet numbered only 374 vessels. They had lost over 80% of their strength. Earth's fleet had been reduced to 42 combat-capable ships, but they had won. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The news had spread instantly. Humanity had defeated the Vrel Grand Fleet. The military powerhouse that had dominated 3 sectors for millennia had been broken by a species barely 2 centuries in space. Ambassador. Yuna stood before the council, her uniform stained with dust from the battle she had witnessed from Earth's surface. The Vrel Empire sued for peace. We accepted, under the following terms. The Vrel will reduce their military to defensive forces only. They will cede 3 systems to human administration. They will pay reparations to rebuild our colonies and fleet, and they will stand trial at this council for attempting genocide. The chamber was silent. No one had expected humanity to dictate terms to the Vrel. The Vrel representative, a different one now as the commander had been recalled in disgrace, spoke quietly. We accept these terms, but we're not done, Una continued. Earth proposes a new doctrine for the Galactic Council. Any species threatened with aggressive war can call on humanity for defense. We will not tolerate bullies. We will not stand by while strong prey on weak. The galaxy wanted us to learn its lessons. We learned them. But we also taught you one. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ambassador Minho floated forward. And if humanity becomes the aggressor? Who will stop you? We will stop ourselves, Una replied. Unlike the Vrel, we remember what it's like to be victims. We know the cost of war because we've paid it for 10,000 years. We don't want conquest. We want a galaxy where species can exist without fear. The council debated for hours, but in the end they agreed. The age of the Vrel had ended. A new age had begun. The age of human protection. In the months that followed, Earth rebuilt its fleet with help from allied species who had watched the battle and decided humanity was worth supporting. Captain Doyun was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Joint Defense Force. Dr. Nari's research became the foundation for a new generation of weapons that other species began adopting. Colonel Taeyang trained soldiers from a dozen worlds in human special operations tactics. On New Sol, Governor Hana watched the sunset over her colony, now secure and growing. The Vrel had never reached it. Human defenders had made sure of that. Junho's documentary about the war became the most watched program in galactic history. Billions of beings saw human courage, human sacrifice, and human determination. Some were inspired. Others were terrified. All were changed. And the young teacher Jisoo, who had refused to run, became a symbol of human spirit. She received medals from a dozen governments, offers to speak across the galaxy, and requests for interviews from hundreds of worlds. She declined them all and went back to teaching children on Earth. Someone needs to raise the next generation, she said. Someone needs to teach them that we fight not because we love war, but because we love